we are. We are streaming, and yep.
Are you recording?
Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so we're back in live. Can you hear me? Can you see
Yes,
me?
I can, but I don't think you're. I don't think you're recording.
I'm not recording Zoom. No, I'm doing this on a different software.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we're backing up. We'll see if people will tolerate this. So recapping for those people following at home, when I did the Zoom thing, I practiced on it for a whole, hours working it out, and I used up my quote free time. So what I did was while we were talking, I signed in to have a subscription, and it didn't just extend the current session. So we're back.
He's back.
Now,
Good.
in the I don't know where we left off because of course when all this stuff happened, I all short circuited over here. But we were talking. Hey, we'll just pick it up where we are. I like the idea of your being able to go wormhole and traveling, whatever you want to call it, in a non-corporeal method, because that's to me fits in my model of the universe, because you're not actually physically taking your XYZ coordinates and moving them faster than light to go somewhere else.
The thing is that traveling normal space is extremely toxic. When I was at Mission Control, the reason they have that heavy duty countdown uh, they have to punch a hole through the ionosphere before the liftoff, or you're going to have a Challenger experiment. And just going through that atmosphere and around the moon without even getting out of the craft, he's never going to have children. His life expectancy has dropped to 20 years. I mean, a whole host of things happen because there's no shielding to protect the astronaut when he goes into outer space. And that's probably one of the reasons we're out here on the rim, because carbon-based life forms are extremely fragile. I'm starting to now think that maybe what a carbon-based life form is a start for an AI. That they start you with carbon-based, and eventually it turns into a thing that we encountered on Mars.
What? Well, you encountered on Mars. What did you
I
encounter on Mars?
got it. I was just seeing if you're listening.
Yeah.
There's some mediums that have, in my humble opinion, a lot of credibility. They're different. A medium is different than ESP. Um, and I give you an example before I tell you what about the AI on Mars. Keith Milton Reinhardt was a medium for the Aquarian Foundation in Seattle, and he was doing paranormal stuff that the military wanted me to check out. He did a billet reading for 102 of my students that I was teaching a class at. And a billet is when you write a question down, put it in your pocket, and he pretends like he's read it and then tells you your answer. Well, mine was, prove to me that you're not reading my mind. And his response, when he didn't know what the question is, his response was, in my mother's bedroom is a hope chest at the front of her bed, and at the very bottom of that hope chest is a letter that was written before you were born.
Wow.
Yeah, he did 102 like that, and he only missed two of them. How did they do something like that? Okay, so that's mediums, and sometimes they're real, like Jack Schwartz or Uri Geller. Uri Geller, I caught cheating, but he was still doing phenomena that we don't understand. He couldn't do it on call, but he was able to do it, which means something's going on that we don't understand. A lot of things we don't understand, actually. Okay, so there's a group of mediums that say that there's an AI on Mars that has been controlling our solar system for 2 billion years. about the time man came from Mars.
Wait, can you control? Can you define AI?
Artificial intelligence.
Well, yeah. Other than that, I mean, what is an AI on Mars? An alien AI? What does that mean compared to our AI?
One that is
I mean, it's a computer.
something like God, maybe, I don't know. Um, but this AI, like we have AIs, only this one way more controls the
I mean,
solar
is it
system.
like hardware?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So
I
it's
don't know.
it's an intelligence
Right.
that we don't
Okay.
know.
So
Okay, yeah.
for
Okay,
the
yeah.
last 5 epochs, we've had a magnetic pole shift. Every 12,000 years, there is a 3 sigma error coefficient on that. Now, that's like you can count on it. And yet, these mediums suggest that something just turned the AI off, which means that the magnetic pole shift, which is due any moment, uh, may not happen.
I mean,
Ooh,
what?
ooh, ooh,
I
yeah,
mean, it may not happen, just because it may not happen. But why? What do you mean by it may not happen? Because there's something that may stop it, or
no, something turned the AI off.
oh,
Big switch. So I started looking for variables. Variables would be like Beetlejuice being blocked for 4 days 2 weeks ago.
right,
Now, Betelgeuse is a red star in the sky. It's a red giant. And Nibiru, which is outside our solar system, went and blocked it. What is the chances of that kind of phenomena occurring in space? About a zero. I mean, it's not possible, and yet it happened.
I mean,
And
I read that what they thought happened was there was a something fell into the star or crossed out, and it just so happens that the what blew out of the star was facing us, and it cooled off, thus making it darker until it dissipated. I don't know.
maybe that
I don't know.
happened. I'm not sure. Putin called it Nibiru. I don't know what actually happened, except that space is about to be redefined from astrology to astronomy, is now going to be called cosmobiology, the geometric relationship of celestial bodies. Now, that's interesting because the switch might have been, I don't know, the chances of something blocking, if something came out of the sun, Beetlejuice, that makes a lot more sense as something that's potentially possible in terms of something in outer space outside our solar system happened to be coincidentally big enough to block the entire sun for 4 days. That's something else altogether. And so I don't know. I'm looking at variables. I know that there's a high likelihood I'll never know what really happened because, well, physics will never get you there. It always starts with an assumed truth. And, it's only as good as your assumption, and that is limited to our imagination. And it goes on and on like that. That means Simon says you can go halfway to the door. That means you get close, but no cigar.
Well, I've been trying to fool around here to get into the YouTube chat room, which I can't do. So,
The
if you,
chat isn't working too.
well, I mean, it is, I think, but I can't get to it, and I can't think, listen, and do this all at the same time. I did years
Is there a
ago,
way
but
I could go to the chat room and field questions for you?
I don't know. What I was going to suggest, if people want a question, if they could write an email, I can got that up. It's Feet to the Fire Radio. It's a simple Feet to the Fire Radio at Proton Me, PROTON.me. That's the simple solution at the moment. I mean, I can keep poking around here, but I'm missing part of your talk, and I want to hear it. So,
I know I like you too.
So I don't know if you notice, I'll switch. Well, you can't see it, but when you're talking alone, I got a Mars picture in the background of Mars. So you're actually talking from Mars now.
When we went to Mars, that planet literally has more water than Earth does, and most of Earth's water is underground. And yet, Mars actually has even more. It makes you have to wonder what the asteroid belt is and what actually happened 2 billion years ago. I don't know.
Now,
It's a,
the the theory that I've heard is oops, wrong button, is like there was another planet, the asteroid belt blew up, it showered Mars. One side's got heavily craters compared to the other side, blew off the atmosphere, blew off the water, and here we are. So I don't know, but I would.
lots of theories. I wish it's like biblical things. If you weren't there, how were we going to know? Because written records don't survive these epochs. Every 12,000 years, I actually had to look at geology in order to get uh, what actually happened. Nothing survived. If that were true, then I would say to myself, well, why am I bothering to write if none of my writings are going to survive? But now I've been given, so I got to finish what I started.
So I'm wondering that using this technique you're talking about, and you could go places. How is that different or similar to remote viewing or astral traveling? You compared them,
Yeah,
but what's the differences between the three?
remote viewing and astral projection are like ESP and PK phenomena. One is inside the body, astral projection is inside the body, that's you doing it. Remote viewing is outside the body, and you're not the one doing the looking, something else is. And that's why I'm going to suggest that remote viewing is extremely dangerous, like practicing magic outside of a circle. Alex Kavarinen, brilliant physicist, uh, polymath, uh, Finnish, dead, did Jerry Pollack's mathematics on structured water. Um, has an article on the dangers of remote viewing in a zine on the internet that no longer exists, but you can find it, called Emergent Mind Bulletin. Leon Sidoroff was the editor. I got to publish with her also. It's a zine online. She stopped being the editor when she had children. So, but it was he wrote for that, and I think you'll find that article compelling enough to give people a due warning on the possibility of danger for remote viewing. I don't know.
And what would the danger be from?
What's that?
What would the danger be from?
Something looking back at you.
Okay,
Maybe,
yeah, entities. Yeah,
what,
yeah.
what are you using?
Now I had if you go back years, I had Ed Dames on here talking about the remote viewing. He used to. I was on Art Bell a million times, and his partner, and whose name escapes me at the moment, but they were talking about the partner was talking about angelic protection. Now is that just like wishful thinking, or can you get protected when you do the remote viewing?
Well, yeah. Well, they were doing drugs in the early years at SRI when Targ and Putoff were doing that. They were trying to enhance the dialogue, and I just can imagine. It's like practicing magic outside a circle. The reason you put a circle around yourself is everything inside that circle is you, and everything outside that circle is not you. And then you have some kind of point of reference on what to believe and what not to believe. And PK phenomena is outside the body, where ESP is inside the body. And so I liken them approximately to be the same kind of thing. But again, that's an area I haven't studied much. I studied astral projection. Actually, I didn't have a lot of interest in remote viewing because of Alex's studies. I just felt it was dangerous, and I just didn't practice it. That's
Now,
all.
I've also had a guest on my show. Of course, I have a problem when I see the face in my head. I can't say the name. I don't know if that's mental illness or genius or both, but I can't. Cynthia, I can't think of her name now, but she talks about reality shifting. So uh, you're talking about something coming or something happening and being able to. We talked off the air about how you taught the Navy SEALs to use your gut to kind of like left or right, and you can use that
Yeah,
stuff.
your instinct. Yeah,
I've been using personally been using something a variant. I think of that by using my gut of where to lead me because there's so much information out there. A lot of it's junk. I don't have time to read it all, so I'm kind of like following my gut, if you will, to what to do. Then the next step, long question, is can you use your gut or some faculty to actually change reality? I mean,
what do
because
you mean by change your gut?
I mean, well, I mean, is there some projection in in our body as a system that could change the route we're on? I mean, other than making a choice, like I'm not going to go out today. Okay, you made a choice, but we're on some type of a projection line, and there's stuff on there. Can you alter that? Do you have some way to alter that, or are you just kind of stuck on that road? You know.
Yeah, that's an interesting question and one that I've pondered, but I don't have an answer yet. Of course, if you could think of it as a possibility, it already happened in a different universe.
And so, can you go there? I don't know. I'm using the word "go there" because I don't know how
I
to.
would think that you should be able to. I don't know. I'm trying to do that by hooking on. I started monitoring my dreams in 1972. And because they don't stay in long term memory, what you do is when you get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you write down that dream because you won't remember it later. You just won't do it. But if you write it down at the time, you do remember it. And for me, trying to get all my dreams in sync with each other is almost impossible. Uh, um, it's like it's you, but you that's kind of out of focus. There's a whole bunch of different dreams. They're all similar, but this one I'm more depressed. This one I'm getting things easier done. But always, always, there's a relationship of what I'm doing with myself. And that's the so called not I part of self. We call that the subconscious, the other 9/10 of your cerebral cortex, the part of you that you're not aware of, but it's still part of you. Instinct can vary, but when you follow instinct, I'm going to put it this way: when you follow instinct, you do not, by definition, make mistakes when you're working with instinct. Now, that's different than if you think about something. If you think about it, all of a sudden you realize there's all kinds of possibilities that could happen. I could get shot, I could not get shot, blah, blah, blah. Well, the way I used to put it, if it's possible, you can count on it. How's that one sound? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know.
Whoop! Hit the wrong button there.
There it goes.
Yeah.
Just bit the dust, huh?
Because I bring this up, and I don't know if this sounds corny or not, but things aren't looking really good in our future. I mean, since I've been alive anyway, we have a lot more hot wars that could happen at any moment. The economy is crashing. The thieves and liars are in charge, and criminals, and it's like I'd like to be able to go like and shift to a different place.
Boy,
You know.
I know the song. We can hum a few bars. I'll tell you what I do know about that part. Optimism. When you become optimistic, you can make things happen. That means you can change the dream.
Yeah, but how? Because it seems like I could have more effect on me, let's say, than on like the world, right? I mean, I would think
Days
that.
across the road. Yeah, I know that song too. Yeah, yeah. I don't know how that works other than uh, the power of the group is greater than the sum of the individual parts. Something more happens when a group of people wants the same thing to happen. That's why they have the the types of events that they do. The hippies, the optimistics, they get together and we're going to all have the same thought form and we're going to make it happen.
Well, anyway, so what about the effects on your own physical self? Like, for example, somebody has, I don't know, high blood pressure or diabetes or something. Other than the idea of not eating sugar for diabetes and all that, how can are we locked into these things? I mean, because on one hand you have this, well, these things happen because of what you've done, or luck or bad luck of the genes, but you're supposed to go through this and learn it. Other people say no, you can heal yourself and change everything. There's kind of like a fatalism versus almost fantasy, and I'm wondering how that where
I don't
reality
know about
fits.
that part. I know that you can literally, the power of positive thinking, Dale Carnegie, that concept is absolutely valid. You can change things just by your attitude. And because what is it? How do we put it in the hippie form? Oh yes, I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't believed it. In other words, it's your belief system of what you think is going to happen that happens. And most of us have been programmed to presume the worst is going to happen. So guess what? You
It
know,
it does. Well, I
it
know
didn't.
I've heard about people saying you're like the power of attraction. If you're negative, you attract negative things, and I understand that, but I also seem there's some kind of a fatalistic thing. Like it's almost like the Kabarushi, Star Trek, they had that Kamanushi Maru or whatever it's called, where they program you're a captain, you program the ship, it's going to crash, there's nothing you can do about it, but they want to see how you act under that pressure. To me, spiritually, there's a kind of like a analogy to that, where a lot of stuff
Yeah, and I
happens to
don't
you.
think that that's the right thing to do. To program people. That's one of the reasons why I think my brain drivers on my website is, believe this or not, the biggest seller of all my titles and everything is the brain driver kit, because people are using that to reprogram themselves.
Hmm.
And I've been programmed right from the get. Hey kids, what time is it? Howdy doody. I remember right out of the gate, from age 4 to age 7 is when most of us get put into a stencil of how we're going to behave for the rest of our lives. Now, some of that changes with Saturn return, blah 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 blah, but mostly something else is going on, and we're pretty well locked into our belief systems by then. We change them with Saturn, the Saturn return every 28 years, that kind of thing. But um, for the most part, what we expect is what actually happens, because we believe it's happening. And if it doesn't happen, we're not going to notice it that way. We're going to see it the way we want to see it. That's another thing. Yeah,
Yeah, because
bang
I
our heads all the time.
because it seems like when you put all this together, it seems like there's a way to change it, but it's limited or you can't. It's almost like you put this whole thing together, and what comes out the other end is like this, nothing. You know,
Well, I'm hoping for a better world. I don't know that I'm going to make changes. One of my values was to try to leave something better than I found. I am not very good at that, but that's what I try to do. And that's my intent, you know. And that's why I'm continuing to teach and write, leave footprints. I'm too old to save the world. Maybe, maybe your great grandson.
uh,
Presuming it doesn't get destroyed.
yeah, which to me is kind of the default. I mean, it's funny. I have people who've known me for years. They talk to me, and it's like I stop and I go, every time I talk to you, I'm talking about like all this stuff that's happening and what's going on, and it's like there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I like these guys who do the shows, and they say stuff like, "Wake up, you got to wake up and do something about it." And I'm like, every time I get someone like that, they go, "What? Tell me
But
something we could do about it." I got nothing.
and I don't have a direction either. That's why I have a team of advisors that tell me what should I do because I'm not sure, and I'm just like a young kid in this old man's body. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna look here to see if I got the. Well, everything's going here. Okay.
Mumbling. Should I call a medical unit or
No, I was just
that
I'm looking
beard? I
around.
wish I had hair like yours.
Yeah, well, it's getting a little thin up here. I know you're ahead of me there, but I'm catching up to you. So,
Well, that was my friend. She went snip, and 60 years of ponytail was gone in 1 minute. Well, there wasn't much to cut. There wasn't much left. I'm getting real thin, and I never had hair on the top.
so with all your knowledge of all this stuff, everything from physics to the body to the mind, to all this stuff, it's like if someone came to you and they wanted you to say like one generic thing to a person that would set them on like a new way of looking at things, how would you phrase it? What would you say?
Brave new world. I don't know how to put that kind of thing. I know exactly what you're aspiring toward. I think we all would like to see something better happening in our world. I don't have the answer. I don't. If I did, I'd be, bounding my drum, but I don't.
All right, well, let's go back to something fun. Well, you said you did this trip to Mars and all that, and then you went to Saturn. And it was the same geometry and all that. What did you see at Saturn? I mean, did you actually see stuff at Saturn? Could you go to
We were in caves. It was underground grottos,
in
kind of like,
Saturn?
yeah. No, no, no. I haven't been to
You mean
Saturn.
Mars? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mars was mostly underground caverns and grottos, and a lot of water. And it looked like there had been water on surface of Mars for a long time, but it was all gone, of course.
So, what is there any? You see any remnants of former civilization there or something?
I didn't know how to look at that kind of thing. Whatever was there was gone for a very, very long time. And I didn't see hardly any form of life there at all. It looked like it was dead. But an AI could be Mars itself as a solid state crystal. I don't know how that all works. The way we're doing now with D Wave technology, where we're able to set information on top of information, and thumb drives are getting smaller and smaller, and larger and larger. It's and we've only been doing it what 100
Sure.
years.
This is a terabyte, and it costs like $8 for a
I
terabyte.
cannot
That's like
believe
magic. Imagine showing
a
up in
terabyte.
the '70s with the and waving this around. This is like magic.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
as far as this AI and Mars and all that, it's funny because when you said that, first thing I thought in Mars trying to control us, it reminded me of the Roman gods. Maybe they had something there that these gods were these larger, higher frequency
So
or
when I
whatever.
was in, yeah, when I was in high school, my last year, senior year, I had English literature and got into the Romantic periods with Shakespeare and so on. But part of what we had to do was write a short story, and mine was kind of like the Forbin Project, where I projected a computer that had the sum total of all of man's knowledge, everything possibly in one spot, and they turned it on and they asked it its first question, is there a God? And it said, There is now.
There is now. You know what? I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I need to forward something right now to my girlfriend. She just, uh, I noticed that she said, and I forgot to do it, uh, and off it goes. Sorry about that, but
No, you know, I also want to mention to people
sorry,
this.
I really needed a Zoom link number to get on board. Hope it went well. I just sent her the new Zoom again,
Yeah.
and I'll
So,
call her over and let her know what terrible things happen. uh, yeah, computers are. I know why Kurzweil was concerned about the singularity, and just having a little vacuum cleaner that goes under your bed. Do you realize that you now no longer need to get on your knees to clean under your bed with something like that? What's that going to do to mankind? It's going to make them lazy.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I read science fiction. They talk about having all these robots do everything for you, and yet these people are still fit and thin. But according to these books I'm reading, it's a fiction. It's because they're having DNA reprofiling, so that keeps them in shape automatically and stuff like that, which is
Yeah.
which is kind of goofy.
So I don't know how it's all going to play. I'm concerned about people using it because of plagiarism and intellectual property and some of the other possibilities of the way that dice rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can sense that it's going to change everything. And now everybody's a writer, poet, and I don't know what it's going to do.
What what are you just kind of riding a wave here? I mean, what is your plans? Uh
Plans, you mean?
yeah. I mean, you got a book. Let's talk about your book. Let's talk
I
about your
have
book.
the book. It's starting to generate income finally. I haven't had a book out in almost 2 years, and was very sick with COVID. Had to move during Christmas, and paying more for less. Everything doubled at the time I had to move it. Everything's in storage, which means if I need something, I've got where I live now. I got boxes going to the ceiling because I don't have any place to put them. Now, with all of that said, um, I I've got a group of individuals that would like to try to monetize me, i.e., free me up from my 600 email a day, so that I can do more writing. That's nice. I'd like to travel. I love to travel, and my new girlfriend loves to travel. I don't mind singing for my dinner, so maybe doing workshops and conferences and speaking events where I get to meet other people besides just doing training, doing my workshops and things like that. I'd like to concentrate on that. Um, I wished it didn't cost so much to travel. It's expensive. I went up to visit her for 8 days and it was $800.
Hey, you were what about these spaceships that are going up, the X ships? What I found amazing of them is I was watched a video of it. The ship goes up, right, that, and then it comes back and lands back down again. It just comes the bottom of the ship comes down and lands right on a pad, and I was like, what? What are they the first people to do that kind of stuff? Because usually they go up and they just toss them away, pick them up, maybe redo them, but they actually come down and land. I mean, these physics involved with getting a rocket to fly where you want it to go is bad enough, but getting it to come back and land, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You think the privatization, if you will, of space is going to help us get more access to it?
I don't know. I'm hoping that because that's what usually airplanes do. They go up and then they come straight down. I mean, that's pretty much the way the Earth turns, or is like the stomach turns. And but getting up that high takes a lot of energy, a lot of power. It is not easy to take a large object like an aircraft and put it up way up there. That's like huge bomb in a controlled explosion. It's kind
Yeah.
of creepy. Yeah, I mean, when you think of it that way. And yet, air traffic is probably one of the safer ways to travel. Safer than it was me picking her up at the airport for Thanksgiving. My 280Z was wiped out. I can't believe it.
Wiped out.
Yeah, guy
Eh,
ran a stop sign.
So it's actually safer in space, huh?
Well, I don't know. It seems like it's safer in an aircraft than it is an automobile. I don't know.
So it is your book. What about your book?
The Diamond Body,
what is
solid
about?
safety. Um, it is the beginning of how you train your mind to begin to use it as a tool. And I give you meditation techniques that I use that you need to start doing. I'm going to recommend that everyone begin, if you will, monitoring your dreams and keeping some kind of daily log where you're talking to yourself, dreams you're trying to remember, things that are important for you to not forget, but you will. I will anyway. And it's like a magical memory. It is a form of inner dialogue. That's what you're trying to do, is find a way to communicate with yourself so that you form your own language. And everyone's unique. Truly, they really are. Everybody is different in the way they do what they do. And that's what made us God's favorite, his choice. And just because we all seem like we're the same, that's my new book on tarot that will be coming out in a couple of months. It's called The Magical and Ritual Use of Metaphor, Archetypal Gods in Daily Living. And it's not about card reading and fortune telling. What it is a way to try to identify the different storyboards that are going on inside you. It presumes that there are 22 big stories in the city and that you're either possessed, which means you only have one storyboard, or you're complex, more than one. And most of us have 5 or 6 basic storyboards, and then we have a slew of other ones going down. And giving you an example, Persephone having to go to hell each year would be a kid taking drugs once a year because he's depressed at Christmas. And each one has an ending. And if you don't like the ending, then that's why you change the movie. And to do that, you do it through ritual, which is like a celebration of a myth. It's like going from profane, where we are right now, into sacred moment. It's like you have to have a switch. That's what rituals are, a switch when you're going from one place to another. And sacred is when you're trying to do changing things like that.
And I look at the rituals involved in these things is that the rituals themselves do not do anything. They're the they're the thing that keeps you busy, your conscious mind busy, while your spiritual mind can do it, can move it.
Well, that's one way of acknowledging it. Of course, there's a whole bunch of different uh, things going on with a lot of different consciousnesses, is the way I would put it. And that's why you do a series of rituals, starting with the physical, the emotional, the intellectual, the archetypal. There's a process of changing each level of the hologram, if you will. And that will be a magical and ritual use of, well, what am I going to call that? Oh, the holistic Kabbalah.
So the so it, how do I say it? So simply doing the ritual.
Hold on one sec. One sec.
Enjoyed listening to you guys, but I have to go.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.
Yeah, my friend has nowhere to go. She's
I have places to go. Don't say that.
Come on. Don't get too.
She had black mold and now is having to stay with her sisters and trying to hang out in different places because black mold will kill you.
Oh yeah.
And her trailer is real bad.
Yeah, the black mold is like, I think once you get it, it's like the kiss of death. You
Well,
know?
she's got it now. She's trying to get well. Her face is all swollen. It's she just left, so
Yeah.
she's about the only friend that remained in Grants Pass. When I got sick, most of my other friends either died, moved away, or yeah, I don't have a lot of friends here anymore that I grew up with. Oh, what's going on? What you doing?
I'm really trying to get into the chat room here while I'm talking to you.
It would be really nice. I
Yeah.
like to respond to questions. They can. Oh, by the way, I do have a new website like that called Ask Mr. Wizard.
Oh, there you go.
And if you have questions, that's a good place to put them. And probably other people's questions you didn't think about, I've got those answered too.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm actually in my own YouTube feed, and I don't see a chat room, so I must have did something wrong on my end. The trouble is I had to do too much too soon, and a lot of stuff I didn't know I needed to be done until it happened, and then now here we are. It's the life thing. But I'll get it. You know how it is. I always figure it out. So yeah. But as far as the we'll use the black mold and stuff. It seems to me like there's bugs, if you will, coming out all over the place that haven't been around before. I don't know how much of it is artificial and how much of it is just nature. But it seems, unless maybe communication is so rampant, but it seems like there's more harmful things coming out.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's like our Skype that crashed and burned in the middle of our first talk, and like then me trying to call you on the telephone and blah blah blah. It's just everything seems to be broken more and more now than anything I've ever previously not known. It seems like everything's breaking.
I see. I got a message. The chat is disabled for this broadcast, so I did something wrong. I apologize. Like I said, Feet to the Fire Radio at proton.me, proton.me.
And if they send you things and you forward them to me, I'll try to respond for you if you'd like. I'd be happy to.
Right. So you can keep doing that even after the video, and we'll get that off. And, I'll get it. I was doing this stuff, before the word podcast was even invented. I was doing this. And so I do have the ability to bounce back. It's a little frustrating when you're doing live stuff going on. But what is the idea here with all this genetic modification? I mean, is there any good that can come of this? Is it all just being used to?
I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but I do not like what I see happening in the world right now. I don't think the United States, for example, is going to be a country shortly because of either Biden or Trump. Which way do you want to go sideways? It's terrible. And who do you vote for? What the Chinese are controlling our food? It's terrible what's happening. I don't have answers. I don't have answers.
Well, the answers you're coming up with is like your book with
Well, I'm trying to write books that will be useful tools, but that doesn't mean. I'm writing to a lot of generations now that don't read books anymore.
Yeah.
There's that part too.
Yeah, it's fortunately when you get everything like music and books and all that, you get it all electronic. It can go away like this.
Just like that. Yeah.
I'm thinking about 1980.
Microsoft wants to do the cloud. What do you think is going to happen with that cloud shortly? Especially with hackers.
Yeah, they're going to seed it, and it's going to rain.
Yeah, I don't see anything positive coming out of it. And why did Microsoft have to update 8.1, 10, and now 11 when number 7 worked just fine?
That's what's behind me is Windows 7.
Yeah,
So
but mines are, it's starting to fail. It's overwhelmed, blah, blah, blah. And of course, there are so many updates to make it not work right. I gotta laugh. How did Cindy Lauper put it? Money changes everything.
so you keep writing, you keep doing the work. So apparently you're going to just keep on keeping on until you
I've got like 40 manuscripts still to complete. I've got a lot of stuff. Today I've put two different books together already this morning on old mushroom books because we're going to start growing mushrooms as one of the things that brands me. I'm going to sell cordyceps. I'm going to try to see if I can't get it in a nanometer so that I have a nice herbal pharmacy to work from.
Yeah, well, I do have on the screen that I'm on now. It has your books, Native Plants, Modern Alchemist, Power Tools, your Diamond Body. You do have a whole list of items along that realm where you can use uh, either natural things or uh, rituals.
I think that, yeah, pharmacy is broken, in my humble opinion. Basically, pharmacy is based on what I call Nazi German standardized extract or target chemistry, like acetylsalicylic acid, aspirin. But aspirin, that acetylsalicylic acid comes from aspen bark and aspen leaf. And if you take aspen bark and aspen leaf, now what you get is natural buffers as well. Something is going on with the way plants have chemistry and side chemistries that somehow complement each other that make the natural aspects more, I don't know the right word, accessible, more complete.
Yeah, I would kind of look at natural as being, in a biological sense, your body would be more
I call
compatible.
that full spectrum. Yeah, I call it full spectrum rather than standardized extract. And certain things like like echinacea and gustifolia, the reason you don't take it as that's how it's sold as a pill. It goes through digestion, and there it is. Has to go through digestion, which means you only get 28% of the chemistry, and it isn't really where it belongs. Whereas if you chew the root, like the American Indian did, the Northern Cheyenne, what it does is it numbs the mouth and increases the turgor in your synovial fluids, causes them to bead so that diseases and viruses are not allowed to spread. It localizes the infection, which is normally going through the mouth, and now your immune system can go in and drill it. That's where things like echinacea, you chew it as a root, you don't take it as a pill. Page 2 on that. Then, if you take something like in a nanometer form, like cordyceps, which is mostly oxygen, instead of taking moxicillin to numb your tooth, what you do is going through digestion, and when it comes out, it kills everything, not just the infection in your tooth. Whereas you can take the single grain of cordyceps and put it on the tooth, and the infection's gone by morning.
No, I like that. I like that
Well,
idea.
it's a different way of approaching medicine and natural pharmacy, like a more natural way.
I mean, I can get a brief story where Lucinda actually had shingles, and I did some research on it, and it said that shingles is related to herpes. So I know herpes doesn't like lysine and also olive leaf extract. And I read somewhere else olive leaf extract is actually a treatment for it. And then I found somewhere else there's somebody has a salve that has olive leaf extract in it. I got it for her and put it on, and it was like magic. It worked, but it's like you're saying, they're taking it, the olive leaf, and it's extract and the whole leaf, in there, and you're putting it right on the thing.
So when you take something to 400 nanometers, the way you do that is you run it through a jet engine at Mach 4, like chicken manure, and it comes out as a powder that's so fine it clusters, but it's at 400 nanometer. And if you used it at 40 nanometer, then you have Coca-Cola Asia, which is using cordyceps as a sugar substitute because it doesn't sedimate out into the bottom of the thing at 40 nanometers. At 400 nanometers, it's like a small asteroid going through the solar system. And polysaccharides are these huge, long oxygen molecules or sugars that have over 100 oxygen molecules. And when it breaks down inside the cell, it turns on your ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, which is a little cork gluon plasma. That's your immune system. Your body can't get enough oxygen. When you take oxygen, oh, you're healthy. Period. End of story. You also lift your best weight. You want to?
Well, what about breathing in oxygen then? I mean,
Well, people do that as they get older.
well, isn't it because they lose the ability to absorb the oxygen, so they make it higher?
Well, yeah, and people don't get enough. Their lungs are all messed up with scar tissue to the point where it's not transferring the oxygen into the blood correctly.
Well, what about being healthy or whatever and taking oxygen? I mean, is it? I had heard that what it does is causes more aging. In that,
I don't know. I can tell you that goosebumps are how your body tells consciousness it's generating stem cells. What age do you want to look like? You can get young again, just like that. Sort of. Sort of. Yeah.
yeah. So with all this information, I imagine you're going to live another 50, 60 years, 100 years.
I don't know if I'm going to live that long. I may have another good 20 or so. Yeah, I hope so. My cholesterols are pretty good. My weight is still a little. I'm about 10 pounds over, but try to. And by the way, the only way I've ever lost weight is by counting calories. If you do 1,200 calories a day, you will lose weight, and you will then smoothly come down to your target weight, which is where you should be, is when you're healthy.
All right. Well, how about is there anything you want to say before we leave here?
Well, no, otherwise, I hope that you all enjoy my writings. I'm going to try to continue writing as well as I ever have. And every book I've been coming out with recently is better than the last one. And you can blame Nick Begich. It was his fault. He's the one that got me into writing again from when I was making lots of money marketing herbs. You know,
I was taking the cordyceps from his website. That's where I was getting them from. Under your
well, I did 150 truckloads of ponderosa pine cone in 2012 or 2010. What color would you like your fire starter, Mom? Everything's marketable. So I cruise Guatemalans out there doing one truckload after another during one season.
Of pine cones?
Yeah, big ones, ponderosa. And you dip them in oil so that the East Coast has nice flaming fire starter.
All right.
Everything's marketable. Yes, it is. My girlfriend has some property up in snow country. It's pretty wily up there. And what I'm going to do is have her maybe put some baby's breath and straw flower in so that it can be a workup for a funeral parlor or a marriage thing. Because everybody uses baby's breath. And that, I did a harvest one year at the Omak airport. We did I think it was 400 ton. And you make $20,000 an acre in labor.
Wow.
It's really good for something to keep, because mostly small farms don't have as much to sell as what they have as their labor. And what you want to do is work at $90 an hour, not 10.
Yeah.
Well,
I tell you, this is the first one. We got there a little bumpy there, but that's taken care of. I appreciate you being patient and hanging around. It's always fun to talk to you, and being the 21st birthday of Feet to the Fire, and I always wanted to have one of my favorite guests, fun guests. Wanted to, and I enjoyed when
Dark night of radio. Look at
yeah,
you.
when I did meet a few times with you, and it was nice, when you were doing those survival things. I tell you, people, he's like a light bulb positive when you see him in real. I mean, it's just like this beam comes at you. It's called Richard Miller, so it's pretty good. If you ever get a chance to see him, I mean, not only has he got a lot of information, and he's smart, can good teach you very well, he's also fun. So
Well, I liked your bike. That looked like it was a lot of fun to ride.
yeah. I just
I'll
start.
ride with you sometime.
I just started it today, just to get it winterized. So all right, well I'll let you go. I appreciate it. And I gotta do some
I
time here, button up the stuff for next time.
I
But
miss you too. You're always welcome out here if you ever wander out this way. I'll show
yeah,
you how to climb, Dick.
yeah, maybe. I mean, to me, one of the things I like about the future is it's unknown. No matter how bad it looks or how good it looks, the thing is that you don't really know what's out there, and I'm kind of halfway letting it take me rather than fight it, because I got a lot of scars I can show you for fighting it.
Yeah,
It's a little easier to kind of
Box of
just
chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
yeah. I think it's a little easier to kind of take the ship downriver, to kind of go a little bit this way, a little bit that way, than try to carry it, off the
Do you
scene.
like to kayak?
I've never kayaked. I used to go.
Whitewater?
I was in rafts going down to
The road is
yeah.
a lot of fun. And
Yeah, there's a river here, Fox River, which is not that big a deal, but when it gets high water, it's pretty crazy at points. So I went down there; it was kind of fun.
well, ours is dangerous when it gets low water because then there's lots of rocks. You can hear me scream all the way down.
You get banging on it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I don't know how that happened.
Connecting to audio. Someone else. There's a couple of there. Oh.
I don't know how that happened, but
Who's that?
I don't know.
Oh, Mary Alice. There she is. This is there's Mary Alice. Do you see her there?
Yeah, I gotta know how to do this.
Yeah. Mary Alice, this is James Arthur Jancic. And Mary Alice is my friend up in Chewelah, Washington, that came down for Thanksgiving, and I went up for Christmas, and it was nice to be back home in Washington. It's been a long time since I've been back home.
I'm brand spanking new with this Zoom, so I don't even know how to. I got her in there, but
yeah, there she is. Can you talk to her? What's there? Something chat or pin? I guess she can do a chat. Can't you do the audio?
as far as I know, it should have been on. But again, this is my first time.
You'd like her a lot.
Oh, she's gone.
That's what I'd like to do. Is what's up? Do you need? It looks like she wants me to talk to her. I'll go look at email and see what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
How to bring her on?
She's there. Oh, she's here.
Oh, okay. Well, introduce yourself and right, accepted. Yeah. This will be the first time she and I've done national radio together.
Did she have her? Can you hear us? Say something.
Hi there.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. I'm trying to figure out why there's no sound and you're not talking.
Well, I had to press the right button. You know how that is.
Yeah.
Yes. I met her back in the early 70s, and then she managed one of my retail herb stores, herbal pharmacy, in 1974. And then I hadn't seen her until, was it 1981? And then they had to take my Z out. But we had a nice Thanksgiving with my sister, and then I went up and spent Christmas with her. So it was nice to be back in touch with you.
Very much so. Very much so. And you've grown so much in all the years. You've putting out more and more information for everybody to grow. even more so. And your Dr. Wizard, MrWizard.com, Wizard of Odd, is one of the most extraordinary, compassionate websites that I've looked at. You take such care in the people that you speak with, and that I know they keep coming back for more information. I so appreciate that about you, Rick.
Well, I like the Indian paintings behind you, Ma. Yeah,
Well,
she's a keeper.
we all come from some past. And James, how are you today?
Well, it was a little complicated because I'm switching from Windows to Linux, and then learning the new softwares to do this, and then switching it up here. And we had a cut off in the middle, but we started with part 2, and
Yeah,
it's been going all right.
Subscription. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I never used Zoom before, so I can recall, and at least I've never used it this deep.
We were raised with all this technology. We used to sit around the round table and have our conversations. So it's not easy for any of us, and I appreciate you being able to make this happen.
It just takes to put time in, and lately I haven't had too much, so that's good. It's good that it's good to have the time, good to talk, and Richard is always both deep information, a lot of fun, and wit. So it's always kind of a multi-layered visit.
Well, you're a biker that drives a truck. Get a grip, man.
Well, listen tight, Pilgrim.
Hey, it's all done with mirrors. It's really nice to see you again after so long a period condone.
Well, you too, and I appreciate it. And God bless, and I'll see you soon. And the next time I'll have a little bit more of the bugs taken out.
Yeah, there's StreamYard and of course Skype with Microsoft. You know, I hate Microsoft.
The Zoom, I mean, I got to say the Zoom, and now that it is running easier than Skype. So
Yes, it is. In
This would
that
be a-
sense of it, it's easier, and it seems like there's less updates, less having to. Every time I load Skype, I have to update it or something.
yeah, when you ever got the word Microsoft in it, you got trouble. So as long as
And
they,
now they're using an AI on it.
yeah, it's
Yeah. I'm
So-
here to help your problems. If I mess up, I'm just learning. I'll
Yeah.
try to use that excuse, see if I can get away with it.
all right. So it's
Nice to see you, Mary.
nice to see you. Nice to meet
You
you,
as
Mary
well.
Ellen. It's good to meet you as well. And so we'll go from here and put it in the can, and we'll talk again soon.
Roger that. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Wow.